Hi there, everyone. Ed Kless here, and welcome to episode 0 of the Confessions of a MetaConsultant podcast. I have decided to do this podcast. Please note that this is a placeholder. There's going to be many more, hopefully, episodes to come on this, but I wanted to get this out there and allow those of you who want to subscribe to it. I plan on putting this out on normal podcasting platforms, so any of those things that you wish to subscribe to, but also as a YouTube video as well. Plan to do that. Mostly because there might be some times when some of the topics that we'll talk about in this podcast will involve some kind of a graphic, and I think it might be better to also have a video version of it out there as well. So just wanted to let you know about that. What can you expect from this? Well, this is a sort of semi-replacement to the thing I used to do as part of my work with Sage, the Sage Thought Leadership podcast. So I definitely want to have interviews of influential people in the space, but also my ramblings and maybe even some cuts from the classes that I hope to deliver online as well. But really what I want to make sure that I'm doing is getting this idea of MetaConsulting out there. So I figure it might take the first episode here, or episode 0, to explain this concept behind MetaConsulting. This was an idea that just popped into my head, I think 3 or 4 years ago. It might have been longer than that. But when I realized that most of my work at Sage for the close to 20 years I was there was in working with our partner organizations in helping them do consulting better. So it was like this rush one day when I realized that what I was primarily doing is consulting to people who do consulting. Hence the idea of MetaConsulting, right? The idea that, metadata is data about the data. So MetaConsulting is consulting about consulting. But as I got to thinking about this more and more, I really came to see that it's a pretty important idea that we do need to have some meta ideas, meta concepts that are important for all of us who do any kind of consulting. And when I talk about consulting here, I'm talking about in any potential industry or profession, or even in our daily lives. One of the things that I'll use as an example is if you help a friend pick out a golf club or a new pair of shoes, you are in a position of being a consultant, right? You have some influence over that individual, group, or organization, in this case an individual, but you have no direct authority to make the decision for them, and that's consulting. So what is it that we can do what can we learn when we're helping a friend pick out a new pair of shoes or a golf club that we can take then with us and also apply that to the work that we do inside our organizations, as well as if we in fact do serve outside constituencies in our consulting organizations. So Ron Baker and I did an episode a long time ago, and I'll put it in the show notes. We're all consultants now, and that was really the nexus, the beginning of this thing that has developed into this idea of MetaConsulting. So what are some of the ideas that are really universal that we can apply not just in our business world, but also in our lives? Quick example, recently my son, who has decided to go on to Texas A&M University, had a very big decision that he needed to make to decide whether or not he wanted to play baseball at a D3 school or go to a D1 school and have that experience. And I was in the position of being a consultant to him, right? I was not making the decision for him. It's clearly his decision. I can't make it for him. I can give him advice. I can say what I would do. I can maybe even make a recommendation. Here's what I would do if I were you. I didn't, by the way. But that was an example of applying meta-consulting ideas. I have this one episode I'm sure will be on this thing called the Ford framework, which is findings, options, recommendations, decision, and applying the proper level in the proper circumstance. Well, the proper circumstance for helping my son was probably just to give him, here's what I found, maybe even to give him some options. But certainly I don't think, in my capacity as his dad, to make a recommendation. I don't think that would have been a good idea. I think that would have been causing some undue influence on him and a burden on him. So yeah, I can say, here's what I found, here are some options, maybe you should think about this, maybe you should think about that. But I'm not going to make a recommendation in this particular case. So there's a meta-consulting idea, this idea of a Ford framework, and how it applies to potentially our lives, my personal life, but then how can we apply that inside business and think, okay, what level of thinking, what level of consulting should be applied in this particular circumstance? What is the person I am working with looking for? Sometimes we can ask them straight out and say, hey, what are you looking for here? Are you looking for me to help you make a decision? Do you want my recommendation? But sometimes you have to discern what is the proper level without directly knowing which to do. So that's the kind of thing that I hope to talk about, and yes, talk about some influencers and some people in this organization, in different organizations who have influence over some of these ideas and driving them forward. So I hope this is a good placeholder for you. I hope this is what you're looking for. Please subscribe to the podcast as quickly as possible. The more people I have in that subscription, the better off that I will be. Other people will be able to find it. So again, I'm going to get this episode 0 out. It may be a month or two, or maybe longer, but I hope my target is a month or two to get regular cadence episodes out. But I wanted this episode 0 out as a placeholder for those of you who are interested to be able to start subscribing. So thanks so much, and I hope to see you more in the future.